Hey there folks, many Chief Information Security Officers believe businesses should be exposed for their cyber and data protection practices, but what measures can be taken to ensure accountability is met? Peter Maloney is the CEO of AUCloud, a sovereign cloud infrastructure as a service provider. He spoke with Ticker's Mike Loader.
There were two key things that came out of the research. The first was that 82% of the cybersecurity experts thought that where a firm experienced a cybersecurity breach and that firm was ill prepared, that both the board and the management should be held liable for that breach. And the second was the call by 80% of the respondents for Australian firms, if you like, to be rated as to their cybersecurity posture.
Interesting. So why do you think so many CISOs believe businesses should be exposed for their cyber and I guess data protection practices? What would you say to that?
Well, I think they've got first-hand experience. This is the team of experts in Australia that work inside all of our businesses, and they live and breathe this all day, every day. What they're really saying is when you consider that we trust Australian companies with our data and they take responsibility for that data, then that responsibility really should come with accountability. And I kind of use the analogy, you kind of think about food labelling, and we say to, food manufacturers, label and tell us what's on the tin. Cybersecurity experts are saying the same. If I want to procure or buy something from an Australian business, a bank, an insurance company, whatever it is, tell me what their cybersecurity posture is, so I know that my data is being, held in a secure environment and less likely to be subject to a breach.
Yeah, it's interesting when we start to take a look at the accountability aspect of all of this. Talk us through a little bit about boards and I guess the C-suite, how that's protecting people or at least making that accountability known.
So look, I think, there's no bigger issue in Australian boardrooms today than cybersecurity. So the awareness is there, but without any doubt, the state of preparedness is not there. So if you kind of think, when a firm has a cybersecurity breach and it's a material breach, the board and the management often lack clarity. And if they're not prepared for it, then that lack of clarity could end up with some pretty dire consequences.
Yeah. So what solutions, I guess, are we seeing cybersecurity experts proposing to help businesses address these challenges that you've outlined for us, Peter?
So I think when we think about awareness, what we've also got to think about is how do you make it so systemic within the way we operate that we're all accountable for it. So the CISOs are really saying, hey, if we had a rating or a score, no different than a credit score, that communicated how an Australian business is performing, then consumers would have more choice or be more informed about who they're about to engage with. But more important than that, it means that companies in Australia that we trust with our data will start to take the issue far more serious.
Absolutely, and well said. I think there's a lot of consumers out there who would agree. So what legal reforms do you think the government should be sort of considering in the realm of cybersecurity? Is there a framework that we can look at overseas and maybe pop on top, or is it not a one-size-fits-all, Peter?
Well, it's a great question, Mike, and I think a lot of it starts at home. We're big advocates, and I think the federal government could do this bipartisan stroke of a pen. Something as simple as legislation that prevents Australian businesses from retaining consumer information for greater than 2 or 3 years past them being a customer would start to be a really material step. So think about the big breaches that we've had. Think about Optus and Medibank. There's years of customer data that is being taken off their servers and being put onto the dark web for sale, but the consumers weren't even customers in many, many instances. And so why are Australian companies permitted to retain that depth of information that is no longer relevant to them supplying services?
Yeah, I've heard discussions about whether or not they should be able to sort of shred it, I guess, would be the analogue form of getting rid of people's data. But
correct, Peter, or de-identify it.
Well, there you go. Peter, it's an ongoing discussion. It's all the time I've got for you for the moment, but hopefully we get to speak again down the track because as we know, this is an ongoing discussion. People need to hear more and stay up to date with what's happening. So thank you.
Terrific. Thanks, Mike.